if I have 100 students, we need 50 of them to be willing to go to a certain level. And the way we get that is we have to make it more accessible. That led to me starting to train in remote viewing, and then MindSight, and then me bringing MindSight back. And then in that process, this idea of the side games was born. And so I've met so many other of my friends who had ideas similar throughout time, but they hadn't done it. So this message has been jumping to these different people, and then it jumped to me, and then I did it, and now it's all these people, their lives are being changed, and that's really amazing. You know, AI will really quickly surpass the physical, mental intelligence of every human. You know, it'll have more, it'll be able to do stuff faster. The thing it won't be able to do is the energetic and divine intelligence that we have within us. And so this is a scary thing, but it's also a great opportunity. It no longer gives you this sense of BS behind the idea of like, we're all connected, you know? Okay, we're all connected, but what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, what does
you know, like how do we know that? Like how do I feel that? When I watch a child or even an adult make something move at a distance, and then I no longer have to tell them that. They just get it.
Oh yeah. Right.
The only way I can touch that or move that thing without touching it is that in some way I have to be connected to it. You know, and it does the work for you. And I think the more we can get that stuff out, the more people start understanding how deeply connected we are, and that will start to bridge this gap. I have this theory. I'm going to bring it out here. I haven't said this in the other show.
Drop it.
Planetary HQ, baby.
What's going on, everybody? You are now tuned into Planetary HQ, the planetary headquarters for all your celestial information. And today, we sit down with Hakim Eisler the day right after a successful Sci Games. Hakim is one of the most fascinating explorers of human potential on the planet. A U.S. Army veteran, survival expert, martial artist, and consciousness researcher, our guest has pushed the boundaries of what's possible through human intuition, remote perception, and extraordinary human performance. You've seen him test his limits on the Discovery Channel's Naked and Afraid, and you've seen his work featured on programs exploring the frontiers of science, survival, and the unexplained. He's the founder of Sci Games International, where he brings together military veterans, scientists, researchers, and everyday people to explore the untapped capabilities of the human mind. Whether it's intuition, consciousness, or the next stage of human evolution, he's become one of the leading voices bridging ancient wisdom with modern exploration. And it wouldn't be a banger of a conversation if it wasn't for my galactic sister, Dr. Iya Whiteley. Iya is exploring one of the most fascinating questions of the space age. How does leaving Earth change the human mind? As a leading space psychologist and researcher, she has spent years studying the profound psychological and spiritual effects of spaceflight, examining how astronauts experience awe, transformation, and what many call the overview effect, a shift in consciousness brought on by seeing our planet from orbit. From the future of human space exploration to the evolution of consciousness itself, Planetary HQ is honored to team up with Dr. Iya Whiteley in this awesome conversation with Hakim Eisler. Let's get to it.
Well, Hakim, congratulations.
Hey,
You've done
thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Second year around.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredibly
Exciting,
amazing?
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your impression? What do you feel? What inspirations have you got from the second year games?
Yeah, I think the biggest inspiration that I have, or the biggest understanding that I've gotten now that the games are over, is just that how powerful this is, and it feels like it's becoming like its own movement. And so many people came up and was just like, it changed my life. I at least had 5 people who were like, last year I wasn't in any of this, and somebody brought me to the first Sci Games, and now I'm like, it's totally changed my life, and so to see that happening and to see people having these experiences and those changes, I guess that was really why the message kept pushing me to to do this. And so now I'm like seeing that on the other side, because it very much was a situation where I had gotten this message and I tried to push it off and avoid it. And I was just like, I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I can't do it. I don't know why I would do something like this. And it just kept persisting until I did it. And now I'm starting to see why it was so, pushy, it like, no, you have to do it. And it's really wild because I've met so many other of my friends who had ideas similar throughout time, but they hadn't done it. And so, to know that like a Jeffrey Mishlove was looking at doing psychic games, back in the time, like 40 years ago, he said. And, another friend of mine was thinking about doing like a psychic Olympics type thing, but it didn't happen. So this message has been jumping to these different people. Wow. And then it jumped to me, and then I did it. And now it's all these people, their lives are being changed. And that's really amazing. So.
Yeah, it is. We can feel it. We were walking throughout the games and the way people were reacting was amazing. I mean, like, we're creators too. So we went around asking people how they felt. And people were literally saying they could feel like a consciousness energy bubble. And they were like giddy. And even I walked by a group of volunteers and they were pointing at the ceiling, watching the ceiling flicker. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, the ceiling's flickering. And they looked at me and I was like, oh, I get it. Maybe because there are so many people with psionic abilities, or it was just so supercharged, it was affecting the light grid. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I did see it. And at first when I saw it, I was like, man, this hotel, man, they charge all this money and they didn't change the light bulbs. Are you kidding me? Like, what is happening here? And it just kept up throughout the whole weekend, and I just kind of accepted it. But then once last night, I was walking through, doing a final walkthrough of the floor, and there was only one vendor left, and that vendor, and I were talking, and I looked up at the ceiling, and I said, the light's not flickering anymore. And she was just like, yeah, I noticed that too. Like, I've been coming in from 5 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night every day. And she said every day the lights were flickering. And then now they just stopped.
Really?
Yeah.
So at the end, you were there and they weren't flickering anymore.
Yeah, it was just me and one other person, and they were clear as day.
That's trippy, dude.
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's probably some of the least of the weird synchronicities happening. We were going down the elevator and our friend Jack was like, hey, if you go in some of the back rooms, there's a guy teaching spoon bending. You guys should go check it out. We're like, there's spoon bending here. And then Jack walks out the door at the end of the elevator, but there's this guy in front of us and we go, hey, do you know where the spoon bending guy is? And he's like, oh, I just came from there. He pulls a spoon out of his pocket and it's bent. We're like, yo.
What the heck? He goes in the type of direction. Yeah,
so
weird synchronicity.
Exactly. And it was also weird though, because it's like there are a bunch of mini consciousness time zones, even within the conference, of different abilities that people are teaching and learning. And some people are using flashcards and being able to see the color. Another guy was showing us his telekinesis methods. So it's super cool. This is honestly like a new culture being formed, like at its roots. And I can only imagine where this can go and how big of a media project. This is like a reality TV show. I want to see this on the world stage. You know what that's like.
Yeah. It's beautiful that you said that, because one of the things that I also noticed, I would every so often try to like vanish and walk through and see what was going on. And and I would see down hallways, groups of people in circles, and they would be like meditating, or I'd come down and like you said, I'd see somebody doing like Zener cards with somebody. And I was just like, this is really cool. Like some people were in, different sessions, and then other people were creating their own just impromptu sessions where it's just a group of friends like, let's sit down and meditate right here, and I was like, that's pretty cool. It's very cool to see that type of dynamic where everybody's just feeling compelled to grow in their own way. And that really is the key to it all, is like, inspiring people to go to a place where they can grow to the highest level of their human potential, and push themselves and be inspired and motivated to continue to grow in that way. So,
yeah, it feels like we're walking around Hogwarts, for real. Seriously. Like, I get the chills. It's the future culture. I can imagine humanity being like this.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're leading that charge is amazing, Hakim. It's motivating, and we want to scream it from the rooftops. This is the future of humanity right here.
Well, thank you.
Extraordinary. I found that speaking to people in the halls, speaking to participants, it was something that in their past that felt insignificant, but it made them come here. It made them develop a particular ability. Working with astronauts, surgeons, pilots, there would be something that in their childhood that seemed like there would be, for example, modeling airplanes, or I don't know, their father would be an engineer, and there will be in the garage, putting apart the car and then putting it together, and then somehow in flight, knowing plumbing and repairing toilets is also very important in flight.
Yeah.
So all your skills seems insignificant, but you need to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So all of that comes together. So looking at your past, what do you feel like looking backwards, the experience almost like comes together? What skills do you think brought you to this point?
Yeah. So this is a beautiful question, and it's really wild. My yoga teacher, I'm a yogi, and my yoga teacher was here. He was teaching. His name is Gary Craftsell, so he was walking around very incognito. And so at a point a couple years ago, I got really overwhelmed because I was getting all of these messages because I went on this quest to like learn remote viewing and mindsight and all this stuff. And then I was going to the Monroe Institute, and literally, especially at the Monroe Institute, I got like these messages from something, and it was just like kind of chatting with me and telling me some things. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And I got overwhelmed. I was like, what am I supposed to do with all this information? I mean, just out there stuff, like I'm just like, this is not the quest I thought I was on. You know, I'm a survival instructor, a martial arts guy. I spend a lot of time in nature. Yeah, I'm into the esoteric practices, but really for me, not for this whole, universe type thing, and so, I was like, I went to an ashram with my teacher, and we sat next to this lake, and I said, I don't know what is going on with this. Why me? Why is this stuff choosing me at this particular point in my life? And he said, well, let's look at it. So we started going through my history, and he was like, to do this, people need a certain level of openness, but they will also need a certain level of protection, right? And he said, with your PSYOP background, understanding how people could try to manipulate the situation and change things, like that's a plus. The fact that you are a certified executive protection agent, you went to executive protection school, so you know how to be a bodyguard. So you're really adept at security and understanding how to protect people and keep them safe. I was for many years in my youth, from 15 to like 26, I was a DJ. So
really?
yeah.
Okay.
So I was
DJ
I was a nightclub DJ. I graduated. First, I was a house party DJ, and then I graduated to nightclub DJ, doing like house music and stuff. And so that gave me the entertainment factor and understanding, like
stage presence,
and all that stuff. And so it just really started. And then, of course, my martial arts and being immersed and choosing a martial art like ninjutsu, where I was immersed in the esoteric practices of, nature awareness and natural energy and doing stuff in the wilderness. And I actually just got back from Montana, and the guys, I was teaching these guys out there, and they wanted to do cold plunges every day.
Ooh.
And so I was like, I'm not doing a cold plunge. And they were just like, well, why? Are you scared? I was like, no, I actually have photos of me and my teacher in the Little Miami River in Ohio, where I'm 20 years old, like trying to meditate in freezing cold water, like for super long. I'm in waterfalls, like meditating. Like, yeah, I've done my time in cold plunges.
Check.
So I'm like done with that. So yeah, I spent all of this time and all of these different things kind of culminating in a way that kind of created a personality, which is my personality now, where I'm very open, but also I know how to be very stern when I need to be. And then, I have some leadership qualities from the military, and then now running my own business for 19 years. And so I think all those kind of things, which I thought were just all separate things, are now and this particular space all coming into play in one area. And so the final portion of that story is that me and my teacher went back and forth and talking about these things, he just looked at me and smiled and he said, well, it just had to be you. And I was just like, so he talked me through my own, understanding. And it was just like, oh, yeah, I guess so.
So you were the chosen one. That makes sense. That makes sense why it's all coming together through you.
Yeah.
All those skills, you're definitely portraying them. I could see that. And you're taking advantage of them. That's awesome. You're, to put it in our words, you're building the kingdom. So that sounds really great. The psionic kingdom, I guess you could say. We have a lot of viewers that are international. They comment in different languages. You have to press the translate button, which is awesome. And for them, I guess, if they're in their country, how do they train to, I guess, become part of this competition? Is there any like online type of training programs for this stuff, just for the viewers out there?
Yeah, so out of necessity to create an environment where skeptics had less ammunition to attack us, right? And then also so we can know for sure, like a person can do the thing. And, there's different aspects of what people feel about like what they can do and so on and so forth. And we couldn't take the chance of just letting anyone on the stage because, if we did that and things didn't go right, then the skeptics would attack that person. So I didn't want that. It would also make us look not so good. And then I also wanted to protect the people that we had coming there. We got doctors and PhD holders in all different fields, and they're believing in this process. And so if we just have a bunch of people who just, pretend that they know how to do the thing. So that led to us building this platform, Games Online.
Oh, okay.
And it's an online gaming platform to help you develop your skills. It first started as a means to assess people. It was like, okay, I can't, because it became very clear very early on when we put out a call for applications for people who wanted to compete. We call them perceptualists. We got like 100 applications. So my small thought was, we'll get like 30 people and I can like interview all of them over Zoom, and so on and so forth. And we got like over 100 applications. And I was like, okay, wait a minute.
It's going to take a month.
How do I do 40 minutes with, over 100 people to figure out whether or not they have psi ability? And so we created this online platform where people can go and play like a basic game and it would like test their functioning. And then it would tell us like if they were scoring above statistical significance. But then I got the message that actually was the way to connect to the whole world and the youth and the adults alike. So I was like, okay, well, if this was a game and it was fun and it was like sexy looking and cool, and not like, like a ball and then I'm trying to hit the ball with like one dot, like when you got kids playing holograms and like virtual art, like the VR mask,
Exactly.
And we got this like little ball and you're just trying to hit it. So I was like, man, what could happen? This is super wild. I'm sitting, I hope I'm not eating up too much time, but I went to Europe. I'm on this trip. Somebody leads us to a meditation. It's a small, a small group in Yorkshire. And we're all meditating in this room. And it's this guy sitting next to me. And at the time, I'm trying to build Psi Games Online, but we're running into issues with finances, right? So it's like, how do I get the monetary finances to build this out? We got to hire developers, and because we want to make it sexy.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I don't know how to do it. Anyway, we're meditating in this circle. This guy's sitting next to me, and I'm meditating, and the guy starts doing like some real intense, like, breath work and stuff. And I'm trying to get in the zone. And he's like, and all I hear over here is like, right? So I'm like,
Johnny
so I
Bravo.
can't focus. So I was just like, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to like, I've been doing meditation for a long time. So I'm just going to put a field around me and I'm just going to block out that. So I just center up and I just go into the zone and we get done with the meditation. And the guy, older gentleman, he looks at me and he says, he's from New Zealand. So he has an accent. And he says, you are very strong. And I said, what do you mean I'm very strong? He said, you were doing something very special. Your power was like,
Whoa.
I could feel it. And I was like, really? And he said, yeah, it kind of like pushed me out of where I was going and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, because that literally was what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
and so I was just like, whoa, who are you then? Like,
You weren't supposed to know.
yeah. And
Jeez.
and so I did a presentation about side games, and that guy was like, "Can I talk to you for a moment?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "What are you trying to do with this side games online thing?" And I told him, and he said, "Okay." He said, "Well, I help young entrepreneurs. I'm kind of semi-retired, and I'll give you the money to build this thing." Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And that was only a couple hours after that whole encounter.
Oh my.
It was wild, you know?
Dang.
And so
the force is real.
the force is real.
Yeah.
And now Side Games Online is, we going to the Tokyo Game Show in a couple of weeks, and where it's the biggest gaming conference. And so the message for me was like, again, if I want to bring this to the youth, why am I only at the conferences with the older folks? You know,
Man.
like I need to be at with the youth.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so we're going to be there in the indie game section showing like
wow.
the first set of games where your consciousness is actually how you play the game. And so we think that we're going to make a huge impact. And then we also have a booth at Seattle PAX gaming conference.
Okay.
You know, and so they have 150,000 people who come to that. And the Tokyo Game Show has 250,000 people who come. And we're like, if we could just get 1% of that, we can literally change the world. The youth of that of today playing these games consistently, it's going to be wild.
Would you repeat the dates for these games so people maybe in those locations find you?
Yeah. So in the Tokyo Game Show, I believe is, I forgot the dates actually.
That's okay.
So,
we can
yeah,
post them.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We can post them.
And then PAX, I think, is like at the end of September or something like that. So yeah, both of those are going to be like explosive. But that's the point of this cross-generational thing. And that's also the point of Side Games Online, is that whereas the conference is a lot of work, takes a whole year to plan, then people have to fly from all over the place. Side Games Online, you just need internet access. You go on there, log in, set up a free account, start playing games. And those games will help you develop. They track your scores. They tell you what your Z-score is. They tell you they give you an understanding of what a Z-score is. They tell you how above statistical significance you are, where you stand and with other people who are playing the games. So you got like a ranking system. For the fund, you get side coins, and our goal for, you know, so if you get a good a point, you get like 5 side coins, and then we're going to start slowly. The next stage of our development is that those side coins will give you percentages off like our side game store, so you can like buy stuff, you know.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
And so you play, you get to use those coins, and yeah, it's going to be. And then the other level is we want to make groups where like we can build teams and our teams can play against each other.
Dude, I need some side coins. That's dope.
Yeah. So, and that's gonna again, you know, adults love playing it, kids love playing it, and that's really what we need. We need a cross-generational thing where, you know, it raises up the vibration of every age group, not just like one age group. So,
heck yeah, that's awesome, man. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was curious. Earlier, you talked about getting 100 applicants, and then you had to whittle them down. You did some testing. I'm curious, like, how rigorous is your testing? If you could explain some of that process. If you get 100 people, does it come down to 10? Does it come down to 20 that fit the criteria? What's that like? Because I know, you know, this is a whole new field, and everyone's, of course, wondering, like, how do we really get the best of the best? How do we get people who are really sincere? So if you could just give some insight on what it's like to do that process.
Yeah, so first off, a person will have to go to Side Games International website and fill out an application. And that application has a series of questions. And then we have a person who deals with that portion of like applicants, and they screen them and make sure everything's okay. Then we send them to Side Games Online, and then we say, just start playing now. And then over the course of the month, Side Games Online has a research backend where we are allowed to, if you opt in, so now it has 2 opt-in functions. options. So when you sign up, it'll say opt in for the chance to be screened for being on side games, or opt in for possible research. And you could choose to opt out, but if you opt in, then we get a chance to look at your data.
Yeah.
And so we can see like how you're doing over time. And then those who score the highest in that category over time, the most statistically significant are the people that we choose for our finals. And then and then we give you another month to either score beyond where you are. And then if you score higher, then we will choose you for the games. And so Mark Bacuzzi, who is a researcher and a game developer at the Windbridge Institute, who now works for CUSAC, Tom Campbell's organization, was the guy who was building the back end. And so all built in within the system is the statistical analysis and data analysis of how to how many times you have to do a trial, how significant that trial has to be in order for it to actually be beyond chance, how many times you have to play that. So it figures out all that math.
That's the real parapsychology, I guess, has done this before, really getting the stats. And I think that's really important, especially for the mind of the skeptic. It's like, hey, look, simple on a graph here. So we set up the experiment. Here's the people. They're definitely over chance.
Yeah.
So let's at least use that as a baseline, and now start to figure out the different methodologies and how people are receiving information on the inner screen or intuition.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The goal is, again, not to. So the challenge that I have is that there's the research side and the science side, and then there's the people side. And the researchers know how to do research, and they want to do research, and they want to do peer-reviewed stuff, and we have 150 years to 200 years of that, right? But the average person is on the fence. I don't know if any of this stuff is real. And then you'll say, well, it's real. Here's a research paper. And they're like, I'm not reading a research paper. I'm just going to hold on to what I believe, right?
Literally. Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how do we bridge that gap? And so we have to make it fun for these people.
Exactly.
But then we have to have some methodology to also make sure that we hold the line in some way. And so that's kind of the balancing act that we've been playing. And so this is where, again, this data comes in, because if the skeptic comes out and say, well, this is all blah, 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 I can just point to the data and I can say, well, if you understand data, here it is. But for the person who doesn't care about the data and they just want side coins,
side coins too, man.
Yeah, they play the side coins, and as those side coins build, that's because they're scoring really well. So they're just having fun with the side coins, but then on the back end, that data is showing that they actually have some side function, which is good for the skeptic, because they don't care about the side coins, but they do care about the data. So we're giving both fields what they need. And that's kind of where we are in this.
Ooh, really excited over here, bro.
And I think that's a beautiful point to bring up about the skeptics, or those who wish to be scoring and getting the coins, is that the best way to prove to yourself, because there's nobody can prove it to us. I found that it's going and getting the experience, and people can receive feedback on their experience, and that's rare. It's not like I dreamt of something and I'm now telling people that that's what happened to them, because it's harder. You might know, but repeatedly over time. So it would be amazing to have that feedback for people who would like to explore their own potential. And I think I invite every person who is unsure or sitting in the fence to go for it. And if people come and say it doesn't exist, invite them to go explore it themselves. Because as every trainer that I have come across and interviewed, and I would like to hear your feedback on that, they say everybody has something. And we know that the psi abilities that, for example, dowsing, remote viewing, telekinesis, they all cross over. And they're using remote viewing, let's say, in dowsing. And it's a possibility.
So I think what you're saying is right on, is spot on. And then we have ancient precedent for it. So like in yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali talks about that at a certain point of your practice, these powers, these siddhis will start to awaken, and they will and they kind of like will merge in some ways, like you might have one and then the other one just appears. And from talking to my remote viewing teachers and stuff like that, they will be doing remote viewing and all of a sudden they find that dowsing becomes very easy, or they'll be doing a remote viewing and then they'll bump into an entity somewhere, and then they're like, so they have these things start happening. And that's why, as a matter of fact, that's why I chose the 5 modalities, is because they tend to blur into each other. So let's just use remote viewing, mind sight, and dowsing. So remote viewing is non-local awareness, my ability to go out into wherever and find information and bring it back. So I'm bilocated. Portion of my consciousness is here, and a portion of my consciousness is at the location or target or whatever it is I'm looking at. So then mind sight tends to be local awareness. So I can't see, and that comes in two main things as far as we know now, 2 main manifestations. It's intuitive local awareness, where I can't see it, but I just know there's a can right there. So you hold something up and I'm like, man, I can't actually see it, but is it a pen? And you're like, yeah, it is a pen. And you're like, okay, I just know it's a pen. I know it's this, I know it's that. But then there's real time seeing where people actually can see, but they might see it in different ways, like it's fuzzy or an impression. And they're like, yeah, I see you're holding a pen. So that's local. And then there's this thing called dowsing, which is like a mixture of both. So you can map dowse, where you have a map looking for minerals or something at a whole totally different place. And you're like, is it here? Is it here? Or you can use your hand and you're like, okay, it's right there. And that on the map is representing somewhere else, which is like almost like a remote viewing.
Yeah.
All right. And then, or I could be standing on a lawn and saying, there's water right here. And that's local, right? And so then that's kind of like a deep a mind sight task. So now you have these 3 different kind of tasks, but they all like kind of flow into each other.
Yeah.
And then, it's just really wild how those things kind of work together. But how many of our own physical tasks are that way? Like if you take my hearing away, all of a sudden I can't freaking walk, and I'm like bumping into stuff, and I feel like out of place, and I'm throwing up all over the place.
Yeah.
So you pop my ear, and now I can't walk. Now I'm vomiting. Now all of these. So now it's my stomach. It's my ability to keep my balance. It's my ability to actually hear you as well. So all of those things are affected by that one thing. And so we look at these modalities, it kind of seems like it's the same way. Like one modality actually affects and has, a way of developing other aspects and tools as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Hakim,
Yes.
you've published a book.
Nice
In
segue.
between organizing this 1,000 people event and planning games online and every background thing that you probably had to do to make it happen. So what is the message that you want to put out into the world through your book?
Yeah. So, Phoenix of the Heart was a message that was given to me at the end of last year's game. And the message that came to me was like I had to put down the story of why the side games came to be, and where it is that I feel it's heading. And the reason for that was for a multitude of things that I felt at the time, was because one, the story, there's only so many times I can tell the story. So I was like, okay, let's just put the story out there,
Read the book.
The others, I'm not guaranteed. Nobody's guaranteed every day, right?
Oh, wow.
But the work is super important that the work continues on.
Amen.
And so it was like, just solidify it and put it out there for the world. And one of the ways we did that this year is that we gave it free to every platinum member. So, immediately hundreds of people now who are interested in the story know the backstory and where it's going in the future and the why, and all of the different things that we're talking about here, like why side games online, why have the side games? How is it different from things we've done in the past? You know, so the origin story and beyond is basically it. It's like, this is where it started. This is how it started, and this is where we hope for it to go. And here are the challenges that we feel that we might face. But as long as we do it together, you know, I think we'll overcome it. And so there's a lot of fear right now in the change of the world with technology.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, to listen to the people who are building like, you know, deep AI and stuff like that. And I don't know if I disbelieve this, but I think it's going to be true, which is, you know, AI will really quickly surpass the physical mental intelligence of every human. You know, it'll have more, it'll be able to do stuff faster. The thing it won't be able to do is the energetic and divine intelligence that we have within us. And so this is a scary thing, but it's also a great opportunity for us to say, okay, you know, especially for the people who are reductionists, who are just like, oh, you know, I just got to be, you know, and I can tell you all the quotes of like, and all the math, you know, behind this thing, you know, and that makes them feel very comfortable and secure. And then they use that to kind of suppress people who are over here who are like, no, but I feel what's going on here. And it's, you know, well, you know, I'm a reductionist. Well, when the computers take over that, and they're just like, and they can't do their math faster than that AI, then a lot of people will be forced to say, well, what else is there? You know?
Interesting.
And then they're probably going to look at, oh, well, what are these guys doing over here? And this is a perfect example of, again, why the book is important. I was traveling and I met this lady, and she worked for a really prominent company, one of the biggest in the world that we all know about, but I won't say it. And that company had recognized that AI was going to put 70%, in their words, 70% of the workforce out of work. It's just going to take jobs. So because they wanted to be ethical about it, they have hired a whole team, and she's the lead of that team. And they call it the Human Flourishing Project. And they're trying to figure out how to keep humans flourishing.
Yeah.
Here in the U.S., one of the ways that we're raised is that your purpose is what you do. You know, what do you do? Oh, okay. You know, and if you just like, well, I'm a hippie that smokes weed and you know, the surf boys on the beach, then they're like, whatever, you know. It's like, you got to have a job and you have to be an engineer and you got to do all the things and have all these accolades. And then all of a sudden, like, you're a real person, you know? But it's like, you know, when you start taking away, you know, jobs and things of that nature for people who really purpose driven by that, like, what is there? You know, and so this gives us an opportunity to say, you were never what you did, you know, you are always who you are, you know, you're always this beautiful being, the same being that was born into this world as this gift of like unlimited potential.
Yes, sir.
You know, and that potential can manifest in a multitude of ways for the betterment of the world. We've only chosen, based on the way our society is, to just go at it in this one way, which is like, I have to have a 9 to 5 and I have to have this and I have to do that. But we're going to see the world shift when AI starts taking all of that. And for those of us who are in tune with our greater selves, we'll have a myriad of ways to start to express ourselves in healthy ways without feeling like we have to be self-destructed. And that the book talks about that as well. So this idea of Phoenix of the Heart is that the Phoenix represents this rebirth, you know, and in this very powerful way. The Phoenix is also bright. It shines light on the dark times and the dark areas. And instead of it being from the intellect, my teacher told me, my martial arts teacher, my ninjutsu teacher told me his teacher used to come out and say, oh, you have to do it with your mind. And then he was like, I don't understand. He was like doing stuff and he was like, you got to feel it with your mind. You got to feel it with your mind. And he kept saying, you got to feel it with your mind. And his teacher is super Japanese, right? Yeah. And so he was like, Sensei, like, what do you keep saying? You keep saying the mind. He said, no, the mind. You got to feel it with your mind. The mind is in your heart, you know? And it was like, And I remember he told me that story. I was in my 20s, and I was like, "Well, that's kind of deep," but I didn't really get it. Because I was 20, I was like, "That's kind of deep." But can you show me how to do that real punch where you like punch through the wall onto the other thing?
Yeah.
You know, like because 20, I was a lot more physical, and now I get it. You know, as I've gotten older, it's like, oh yeah, the mind is in the heart, and so this idea that there's a new awakening of like not it being just intellect, because this again, the AI is going to take that and just kind of, you know, flip it on us. It's the awakening now is the heart, you know, that true heart. And so the phoenix of the heart is the heart energy, the heart love is going to start to illuminate the world in a way in which we find a new way to be, where we're not just all feeling separate and feeling, you know, alone and feeling lost. You know, light does magical things and like dissipates all of that. You know, so like if you're lost in the dark, you shine a light to find your way.
Exactly.
You know, if you're looking for somebody, you illuminate and you find that person. You know, and so this is how we bring people together, and that's kind of where it's,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amen.
I find it amazing. And it feels to me, when you were talking about crossover, about abilities, I would like to map the abilities that people have beyond, and in addition to, maybe we won't compete or, you know, support each other. As you say, competition, it's part of raising each other. It's not about winning. And we heard that from competitors, you know, say pioneers who were saying like, if you win, we all win. And I would like to do, from my, I guess, my logical mind, I would like to systematically map out what other things that we're missing out as our sensors, as our perception abilities that would potentially cross over and empower. In interviewing people, I saw that they talk about other ways of seeing. They talk about, just as you said, some feel it, some know it, some literally see it, some possibly dreamt of it, and now it makes sense that the answer is here. So that would be amazing to test and see the options, maybe potentially get a questionnaire out on what other abilities people feel. Because people say, let's say, I am psychic, but then you get to speak with them and they mean completely different thing. You know, there's 10 people in the room and they will be all different. So I think you're building the wave. You know, let's surf it.
I think what you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a portion of what you're talking about is like a taxonomy of like, you know, and I think that's super important, because I've actually said what you said, like even with like remote viewing, for instance. I've met so many people who will say, oh, I remote viewed this, I remote viewed that, and you start talking to them and their understanding of remote viewing is different than the actual person who actually created the term remote viewing, who's Ingo Swann, right? So Ingo Swann actually had he coined the term remote viewing, and he had an idea of what remote viewing was supposed to be based on this term that he created. Just like if we were to create mechanical engineering, there's an idea of what mechanical engineering is. Now, if I'm like building a dam out in my backyard, that's probably not it. That might be civic engineering, you know, or something like that, you know, like, but that's not mechanical engineering. And so if I'm talking about one thing and then this person's talking about another thing, but we're using the same term for it, then this is where this comes in. I have this theory. I'm going to bring it out here. I haven't said this in any other show.
Drop it.
So, you know, when I was coming up, I went to a Muslim school for a little while. I went to a Christian school for a little while. I went to a Catholic school for a little while. And so I got a really good feel for different religious. And then, you know, because, you know, I spent some time in some unsavory places, I got to get knowledge from these groups called the 5 Percenters. And they were like these really intelligent, you know, hood prophets, you know? So I got this real interesting world. I say all that to say that there was always a story that was really interesting to me, and it was the story of Babel, like Babylon. Like all these people were trying to build like this tower up to the heavens, and then at some point, God says, "Well, yeah, that can't happen. We need to." And what was happening was that they were able to communicate. And so from what I understand, the end of the story was that God stripped or changed their tongues so they couldn't communicate anymore. And the more I dive into this topic, I started wondering, I wonder if that's the story of telepathy and our loss of telepathy.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of talk now that telepathy was a language at one point. Like it was the way we communicated. Yeah. And then at some point we stopped and we started using words. And now we see that words make us very confused sometimes.
Yeah.
Because people change the meaning of those words.
We're babbling.
And
he didn't confuse the language. He made us use the written language. We were forced to use written language instead of the real language that helps defeat confusion by information and emotion and not being able to say one thing but mean something else and try and sneak around it. Yeah.
And so when I was in the Army, communication is a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because if you say something wrong, and I remember getting, multitude of times getting what we called it smoked. And smoked is like when they just make you do exercises until you die, and then they resurrect you and then they say, don't do that again. So it was
you learn real quick.
Yeah, you learn real quick. And so we would say things or do things. So one of them was like, I used to say, we started when we were young PSYOPs soldiers, we would say PSYOPs with an S. Yeah. So that got beat out of us. But I remember I'd say, what was it? One of my team leaders used to be artillery.
Okay.
And I was on the radio and I was like, repeat last message or something like that. And he was like, no, he says, say again, not repeat, and he had this thing like, because repeat tells artillery to repeat in the same spot, and so, so we don't say that, it's like, say again if you want to if you want to hear something, because if you say repeat and it's an artillery person, they're going to shoot bombs somewhere. And I was like, that's interesting. I didn't know that because that wasn't what we were doing at the time, but it was good to learn that. So military is super huge on communication. One, shortening communication, so you can get a lot of information out in a very short time over the radio in combat. And then two, that nobody can misinterpret what you mean. Yes. Because misinterpreting what you mean could mean like somebody getting blown up or shot or killed or something like that. So there was all this beating into us that we all said the same thing. And then what you see when people are all communicating the same is that they become super efficient.
Yeah.
Right? And so then we would just take that back to the story that if we were all telepathic, then we were super efficient and we could build a tower to the heavens, And so stripping us of that skill and giving us different languages and forcing us to use the written word would be the way to do that. And we've seen that in history, like even with slavery, still taking people's names, giving them new names,
take their cultures,
moving them from their tribes, and now they can't rebel.
They have nothing,
And
they have
children
nothing.
away.
Taking children away. They have no identity. They have no language. They have no history, no culture, and now you're just lost. And so, if I was to try to get a people to be lost, giving them a new language and different languages would be the way to do that.
Yeah.
Because now you just feel separate and you can't talk to anybody and so on and so forth. So that's my theory in a nutshell.
No, that's it. Billy Carson, don't let him see this. He's going to run with it. This is what I'm going to start saying now. This makes so much sense that I've never heard explained like that, Hakim. Thank you for that. That's fire.
Follow-up question to just, I don't know if you've gone deeper with the conspiracy, but do you think in that story it was literally like God, master intelligence of the universe that made that confusion? Or was it a little bit like maybe some people say the controlling forces on Earth that claimed to be the God and have been influencing the planet? I don't know how far out we want to go, but there's a lot of the non-human intelligence topic
it's hot right
informs
now.
this. Yeah.
I would say, again, this is where my teacher was like, this had to be you. I actually finished 2 books this year.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Yeah. One is called Winning the Battle for Your Mind. It's about my PSYOP history.
Ooh, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it'll come out in the next 2 months. I had to put it on pause. I was right there ready to publish it, and I had to put it on pause because I got overwhelmed the last few weeks.
Yeah, side games.
Yeah, and so if I was to write that story, that would be how I would write it. Like if somebody came to me and said, Sergeant Isler, we need to make sure that people can't communicate and da da da, that would be the way.
Yeah.
So I could see like there being like some sub higher than us, but not divine intelligence who wants to like control things to mix up our ability to communicate.
100%.
Because that's a recipe for, people to rebel and be strong and be powerful. And I think that's also one of the things I find that's super powerful about like psychokinesis, right? I love psychokinesis because what it does especially I see at the kids at my martial arts school, when I teach it to them, is it no longer gives you this sense of BS behind the idea of like, we're all connected, Okay, we're all connected, but what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Like how do we know that? Like how do I feel that? When I watch a child or even an adult make something move at a distance, and then I no longer have to tell them that. They just get it.
Oh, yeah, right.
The only way I can touch that or move that thing without touching it is that in some way I have to be connected to it, and it does the work for you. And I think the more we can get that stuff out, the more people start understanding how deeply connected we are, and that will start to bridge this gap. Another reason for the book, there will be, like I said this weekend, I don't know if it was just I'm normally in a PSYOP capacity. They tell us to be objective about our subjective experiences. So we all have a subjective experiences, but the thing we want to do is try to be objective about that. It makes it a lot harder for us to get trapped in the PSYOP loop, And so, one of the things that I was thinking this weekend was like 3 different possibilities. One, our energy was just so strong, it was breaking all my damn equipment. And I'm sitting on the stage like, oh my God, why is this not working? What's going on with this lottery machine?
Yes.
It's like, so that was one possibility. The second possibility is that, in the Army, we have PACE, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. Every plan is going to suffer some sort of hiccup. So you always have an alternate. Every alternate, if you're really unlucky, will suffer some sort of hiccup. So you have a contingency. Every contingency might have some sort of hiccup. So you have an emergency. Once you get past that, you say something really weird is happening. And so I got to a point on stage this weekend where I was just like, this is beyond the normal.
Really?
Yeah, this is beyond like normal stuff. Like, I can't, the mics are dying. The machines that I was just working in my garage a day or two before are no longer working. It was just so much stuff happening.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is going on? So then I was like, is there some other force that's trying to keep this from taking place?
Yeah.
And then the last one was like, it might be both.
Exactly.
It is our energy so strong that it did call in some forces. Our energy is doing certain things, and then those forces might be trying to do certain things, and they're all competing, and it's all the stuff happening. So,
that's why he's the leader of this. You hear this man? He's a military PSYOP special operations guy and a spiritual warrior, and he's conscious of all this. You're the man. You literally are the man.
Yeah.
I guess segueing into my next question, for we have a lot of younger people that watch the channel, and I want to know if you have any like personal advice for the next generation that's up and coming. Just some personal advice, maybe how to personally train, some methods that you use, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so Psy Games Online, start with that. And then we have Psy Games intensives where people can come and train with me and my team, and we'll work with them on these different modalities. And one of the things that I would say would be the greatest advice is that, start to find yourself in nature. more. And then also start some sort of meditation practice and really understand that. Now, if you want something a little bit more funner than that, I think that, you know, one of the things, again, with Side Games Online and the intensives is that they give you they can start you now into something. And this was actually a story that I talk about that led to the birth of the Side Games. And I'll bring that up really quick. So one of my students was running around. He's 9 years old at my school, and he was doing mudras, and he was saying mantras, right? And he's just enjoying himself, and he's running with his hands behind his back, and I'm like, hey, where do you get this stuff from? And he's like, oh, I watch Naruto, you know? And I was like, and actually I watch Naruto too as an adult. Perfect. Because it's super cool. So he's doing these mudras, saying these mantras. And I said, you know, where did you get that from? He said, Naruto. I said, well, you know, we're ninja. That's what we're practicing. And and I was like, so we have these 9 powers. We call them the Kuji, and each one is a different thing. And he's like, well, you know, show me. And I was just like, whoa. So then I harken back to the story of me being in the Little Miami River and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, all my training was experiential with my teacher. So I had to go off in the woods with him, and we do stuff. And I'm like, today is not the climate for me to tell this 9-year-old to come to the woods with me. Hang out in the river somewhere. You know, some cops will be on me real quick. So I'm like, but the kids today probably don't have that type of fortitude to just spend, you know, hours out in cold water trying to do some stuff. So so I see this kid who's asking for a way to explore his own personal power, but I don't have a quick way for him to understand and do that. I have this long, drawn-out process, which is going to lose him. Only 1 or 2 students out of the hundreds that I have will actually be the one that would do all of that. But we need, if we want to keep this alive, if I have 100 students, we need 50 of them to be willing to go to a certain level. And the way we get that is we have to make it more accessible.
Yes.
And so this is where this kind of idea came for how do we make it fun? How do we make it engaging? Things that can happen right now. And that was ultimately how that led to me starting to train in remote viewing, and then Mindsight, and then me bringing Mindsight back. And then in that process, this idea of the Side Games was born. And so a way to make it accessible and quick and easy for people to really understand this. And so we're going to be putting out a lot of information and things to make it fun and easy for people to learn.
Thank you, Hakim.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
speak with you right after.
Yeah.
The man's on fire.
Appreciate it, dog. What you're doing for the entire planet is monumentous. We love it. You are an inspiration for me and everybody else out there, man. We think this is really the future. So you have our full support, and I'm pretty sure anybody watching and listening is going to try to figure out how to get to the next Side Games, right?
Yeah, it's going to be here in Charlotte.
Okay.
And next year, and it's going to be at the end of July, just like this one.
Okay.
And then next year, we'll also have one in Manchester.
Oh, nice.
In October.
Okay.
So we'll have our first real international Side Games in Manchester. So,
nice.
Yeah.
And I just looked it up. The Tokyo Game Show is September 17th through 21st. So if you want to hang out with the Side Games in Tokyo, go check it out.
Yeah.
Well, we love you guys. Till next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.